Hello everyone, how are you today? Welcome back. Tried to start on time today. I think I made it. Yep, just made it. What do you mean about time? I said hi as soon as the timer went up. Thought I was gonna miss it though. I was cleaning my face off. So, for those of you who are parents or older siblings, hey Sparky, glad you're here. Let's see if may as well get this story for everybody to laugh at me for it. So we'll give it just a minute before I get into it. Maybe. See if we can get Panda. Maybe a gecko. Don't mind the clickety clackities. There's a panda. Alright. I think the gecko's getting on too. And then I'll tell the story so you can all laugh at me together. Waiting for the gecko and other people's. For the stuffs and the things. You slow gecko. Anyway, so those of you who are parents or older siblings, or maybe even a particularly brave aunt or uncle, are familiar with the idea that sometimes with babies, bodily fluids of various sorts end up on you in various places. What I didn't realize was that hazard actually extended all the way up through being a teenager. Hey, little dude. So, I made a terrible decision this morning. I made my teenager laugh. Suddenly and explosively. And she had just been eating. And so from the bridge of my nose to the side of my head behind my ear and everything in between got coated with something wet and gooey and straight out of her mouth. Just freaking sprayed. And it was gross. And I just sat there with a napkin wiping my face off at the breakfast table, and she's just dying laughing. And I'm looking at her, and then I'm pointing to the various places on the side of my head where she has just doused me. And apparently this is utterly hilarious to her. So I thought I'd share that with all of you so, you guys could get a good laugh too. I still feel like some of it is in my eye. I keep wiping at my eye, and it still feels like it. I'm sure it's in my head, but yeah. So this was how I started my day, and why I was nearly late to stream, because I was cleaning off my head. How was your day, everybody? Anybody else get doused in various fluids? Yeah, it sounds a lot worse when I say it like that. I'm not sure if it was spit or snot or partially chewed food or some milk or what. So there's various possibilities. But it was gross. It's very gross. Yeah. You're right. Probably was. What do you mean I deserved it? Why would I deserve it? I didn't deserve it. I'm nice. Thinking I deserve being sprayed by partially digested food, milk and snot and slobber and saliva and stuff. Blech. Ugh. It was awful. But she is not allowed in the office when I am streaming, so I am somewhat safe from her for the moment. Look, Vela, you know I'm funny. So I kind of feel like if you are still associating with me while drinking or eating something, that's on you. Because you know I am hilarious. Hey, Gecko. You missed the story. Missed getting to laugh at me for the way I started my morning. It was very gross. Yep. I told you were slow. Long story short, teenage girls will sometimes douse you in various fluids, much like babies will, if you make them laugh suddenly at the breakfast table. And you can get the side of your face coated with milk, snot, slobber, partially chewed food, various things. Because you made them laugh suddenly and explosively. And it got in my eye and behind my ear and all over the side of my face. And it was awful. It was so gross. And then after I thought it was cleaned off, it was pointed out to me that there was still some in the corner of my eye and in my beard. Yeah. So that happened. That was my morning. It was great. Oh yeah. Not as hazardous as when she was a baby, though. I'll give it that. So, I don't know of any other children that have done this, but when I changed diapers when she was a baby, she would sometimes projectile poo because she saved a last rocket of it for when the diaper was off, and she could clear 2 meters. I actually measured it once I learned to dodge, and she cleared 2 meters. And that is my revenge on her for doing this to me this morning. Yep. That's my revenge. It is now out there. Ultra embarrassing story of her, babyhood. Recorded on the internet forever. Oh, well. Anyway, how was your day, Gecko? What are you up to, Panda? You said you were in a Discord with a bunch of people. Is this a gaming night? Okay. classic literature and poetry raining down around me. Might have had a stack of novels next to me on the desk. And they just went flying. How old is this copy of Arabian Nights anyway? It's an old, like, cloth-bound one. When were you published? Ah, this one's from 1946. Not bad. So we're going to read Nicholas Nickleby today, and maybe a little bit of poetry first. Don't have a new poet picked out, so we'll stick with our standby for Baudelaire. Not reading the ones in French. Ah. Here's one dedicated to the season, it having been recently Valentine's Day. Love and the Skull. Love is seated on the skull of humanity, and on that throne the obscene fool in effrontery laughs and blows bubbles in gay swirls that rise and fly up in the air to look for worlds deep in the sky. Each luminous and fragile whole lifts like a thought, then spits its little spray of soul out in his naught. I hear the skull at every spurt beg his friend, when is this brutal, ridiculous sport going to end? That stuff from your mouth you scatter in the air like rain. You blind murderer is the matter of my blood in my brain. Not that I have anything against, Valentine's Day. Maybe a little bit. But I feel I have sufficient justification. Ah! Stop falling. No. Just because I stacked the smallest one on the bottom and draw all hardbounds is no reason to fall. And apparently there's pens and pencils in between the books. Okay, maybe it had adequate cause to fall on me. Details. It's just going to be one of those days. I can already tell. All right. It's been a while since we read Nicholas Nickleby. Man, we've been reading it a while. Can you believe we're only 45%? I might have been talking to my books. Let's call it an occupational hazard. Don't judge me. There's people that talk to their plants. There's people that talk to the walls, that talk to themselves, that talk to ghosts and fairies. Some people even talk to all of you. Oh wait, I do that too. Okay. But yes, I was talking to my books. I was admonishing them for attacking me. Beaten to death by literature. Yeah, only 45%. It's kind of appalling, really. I kind of feel like it's going to take us a year to read this thing. Charles Dickens was not a character from Much Ado About Nothing. He was not a man of few words. I used to really, really dislike wow, I just blanked on his name. How did I blank on his name? Okay, this is embarrassing, but the actor from The Matrix and John Wick and Bill and Ted. What is his name? Losing my mind here. Seriously, he's like super freaking famous right now. He was the actor that got recruited for Cyberpunk. Keanu Reeves. How did I miss Keanu Reeves? All right. So anyway, once upon a time, I actually really didn't like Keanu Reeves. This is before he started to make some good movies. And was more like playing on speed and stuff. And anyway, he was in a Kenneth Branagh production of Much Ado About Nothing. And his character takes the stage and he says, "I am a man of few words." And then he shuts up and doesn't say anything else. And I thought that was his best role for a long time. And then The Matrix earned some goodwill, and then, well, he kicked ass in John Wick, and that's just all there is to it. So I've changed my mind on him, and I quite like him now. But at the time, when I saw that, I was like, yes, he shut up. He's earned some goodwill back. Though apparently not enough for me to remember his name. That's embarrassing. I blame it on spit attacks. Getting bombarded by hardbound literature. All right. So, we are on chapter 29 of the Proceedings of Nicholas and certain internal divisions in the company of Mr. Vincent Crummles. Office drama. The unexpected success and favor with which his experiment at Portsmouth had been received induced Mr. Crummles to prolong his stay in that town for a fortnight beyond the period he had originally assigned for the duration of his visit, during which time Nicholas personated a vast variety of characters with undiminished success, and attracted so many people to the theater who had never been seen there before, that a benefit was considered by the manager a very promising speculation. Nicholas, assenting to the terms proposed, the benefit was had, and by it he realized no less a sum than £20. Possessed of this unexpected wealth, his first act was to enclose to honest John Browdy the amount of his friendly loan, which he accompanied with many expressions of gratitude and esteem, and many cordial wishes for his matrimonial happiness. To Newman Noggs he forwarded one half of the sum he had realized, entreating him to take an opportunity of handing it to Kate in secret, and conveying to her the warmest assurances of his love and affection. He made no mention of the way in which he had employed himself, merely informing Newman that a letter addressed to him under his assumed name at the post office, Portsmouth, would readily find him, and entreating that worthy friend to write full particulars of the situation of his mother and sister, and an account of all the grand things that Ralph Nickleby had done for them since his departure from London. "You are out of spirits," said Smike, on the night after the letter had been dispatched. "Not I," rejoined Nicholas, with assumed gaiety, for the confession would have made the boy miserable all night. "I was thinking about my sister, Smike." "Sister? Aye. Is she like you?" inquired Smike. "Why, so they say," replied Nicholas, laughing. "Only a great deal handsomer." I always thought that was like widows and old spinster women that could be called handsome. If you called a young woman handsome, you were done. Though I suppose it's his sister he's talking about, so fair. "She must be very beautiful," said Smike, after thinking a little while, with his hands folded together and his eyes bent upon his friend. "Anybody who didn't know you as well as I do, my dear fellow, would say you were an accomplished courtier," said Nicholas. I don't even know what that is, replied Smike, shaking his head. Shall I ever see your sister? To be sure, cried Nicholas. We shall all be together one of these days, when we are rich, Smike. How is it that you, who are so kind and good to me, have nobody to be kind to you? Asked Smike. I cannot make that out. Why, it is a long story, replied Nicholas, and one you would have some difficulty in comprehending. I fear I have an enemy. You understand what that is. Oh, yes, I understand that, said Smike. Well, it is owing to him, returned Nicholas. He is rich, and not so easily punished as your old enemy, Mr. Squeers. He is my uncle, but he is a villain and has done me wrong. Has he, though? Asked Smike, bending eagerly forward. What is his name? Tell me his name. Ralph. Ralph Nickleby. Ralph Nickleby, repeated Smike. Ralph. I'll get that name by heart. He had muttered it over to himself some 20 times when a loud knock at the door disturbed him from his occupation. Before he could open it, Mr. Folair, the pantomimist, thrust in his head. Mr. Folair's head was usually decorated with a very round hat, unusually high in the crown, and curled up quite tight in the brims. On the present occasion he wore it very much on one side, with the back part forward in consequence of its being the least rusty. Round his neck he wore a flaming red worsted comforter, whereof the straggling ends peeped out beneath his threadbare Newmarket coat, which was very tight and buttoned all the way up. He carried in his hand one very dirty glove, and a cheap dress cane with a glass handle. In short, his whole appearance was unusually dashing, and demonstrated a far more scrupulous attention to his toilet than he was in the habit of bestowing upon it. Good evening, sir, said Mr. Folair, taking off the tall hat and running his fingers through his hair. I bring a communication. From whom and about what? Inquired Nicholas. You are unusually mysterious tonight. Cold, perhaps, returned Mr. Folair. Cold, perhaps. That is the fault of my position. Not of myself, Mr. Johnson. My position as a mutual friend requires it, sir. Mr. Folair paused with a most impressive look, and diving into the hat before noticed, drew from thence a small piece of whitey-brown paper, curiously folded, whence he brought forth a note, which it had served to keep clean, and handing it over to Nicholas, said, Have the goodness to read that, sir. Nicholas, in a state of much amazement, took the note and broke the seal, glancing at Mr. Folair as he did so, who, knitting his brow and pursing up his mouth with great dignity, was sitting with his eyes steadily fixed upon the ceiling. It was directed to Blank Johnson, Esquire, by favor of Augustus Folair, Esquire, and the astonishment of Nicholas was in no degree lessened when he found it to be couched in the following laconic terms. Mr. Linville presents his kind regards to Mr. Johnson, and will feel obliged if he will inform him at what hour tomorrow morning it will be most convenient to meet Mr. L. at the theatre, for the purpose of having his nose pulled in the presence of having his nose pulled in the presence of the company. What? I don't understand that at all. Mr. Linville requests Mr. Johnson not to neglect making an appointment, as he invited 2 or 3 professional friends to witness the ceremony, and cannot disappoint them upon any account whatever. Hey, Megster, glad you're here. How are you? You having an okay night tonight? Tonight? It's tonight there, right? 2 new emotes. Awesome. Will they work in here? Ooh. Wait, what is that? Mad pan. I thought it was a frying pan. I like it. I thought so, and then I looked at it again and thought maybe it was like a spy dude with a smoking or something. Your frying pan clip? No, I did not. All right. So, Portsmouth, Tuesday night. Rip. Post it in the Discord. I'm sorry, it auto deletes links. I'm not sure why. Pretty sure you have like VIP status here and stuff. Yeah, you have VIP status. So I don't know. My my streaming Yoda failed to teach me how to like do granular permissions for that. I'll have to find her and talk to her about it. Be like, hey, you're supposed to show me how to do this stuff. Oh, yes. Perfect. You made it an emote that's beautiful. I love it. Vela, it is a testament to you. This is your work right here. That is beautiful. Woke everybody up, did you? That's great. I love it. I love it. It's perfect. It's beautiful. Oh, it was magnificent. It's Vela activating her goddess powers, punching Stegos and double teaming Meg with a serial killer, making her scream like that. It's beautiful. I honestly had no idea that a human being could get their mouth open that wide. It was impressive. It was like half your face. That's so great. Made my day. Seriously, made my day. Oh, all right. So maybe having your nose pulled is like getting in a fight or something? I don't know. See, Vela, it's not always my fault when you have problems with drinking stuff. So, Meg, our character got this note, and he tells him to make an appointment for having his nose pulled in the presence of the company. And I don't understand what it means. Yeah, his nose pulled. My best guess is that it's some sort of like archaic slang for getting in a fight. Nope, not leg, nose. It's weird. So Portsmouth, Tuesday night is when he's supposed to make the appointment. Indignant as he was at this impertinence, there was something so exquisitely absurd in such a cartel of defiance that Nicholas was obliged to bite his lip and read the note over 2 or 3 times before he could muster sufficient gravity and sternness to address the hostile messenger, who had not taken his eyes from the ceiling, nor altered the expression of his face in the slightest degree. "Do you know the contents of this note, sir?" he asked at length. "Yes," rejoined Mr. Fuller, looking round for an instant and immediately carrying his eyes back again to the ceiling. "And how dare you bring it here, sir?" asked Nicholas, tearing it into very little pieces and jerking it in a shower toward the messenger. "Had you no fear of being kicked downstairs, sir?" Mr. Fuller turned his head, now ornamented with several fragments of the note, toward Nicholas, and with the same imperturbable dignity, briefly replied, "No." "Then," said Nicholas, taking up the tall hat and tossing it toward the door, "you had better follow that article of your dress, sir, or you may find yourself very disagreeably deceived, and that within a dozen seconds." So basically saying, I'm going to kick your ass if you don't get out of here. I say, Johnson, remonstrated Mr. Fuller, suddenly losing all his dignity. None of that, you know. No tricks with a gentleman's wardrobe. Leave the room, returned Nicholas. How could you presume to come here on such an errand, you scoundrel? Pooh-pooh, said Mr. Fuller, unwinding his comforter and gradually getting himself out of it. There, that's enough. Enough, cried Nicholas, advancing towards him. Take yourself off, sir. Pooh-pooh, I tell you, returned Mr. Fuller, waving his hand in deprecation of any further wrath. I wasn't in earnest. I only brought it in joke. You had better be careful how you indulge in such jokes again, said Nicholas, or you may find an allusion to pulling noses rather a dangerous reminder for the subject of your facetiousness. Was it written in joke, too, pray? No, that's the best of it, returned the actor. Right down on it, earnest, honor bright. Nicholas could not repress a smile at the odd figure before him, which at all times more calculated to provoke mirth than anger, was especially so at that moment, when with one knee upon the ground, Mr. Fuller twirled his old hat round upon his hand, and affected the extremest agony lest any of the nap should have been knocked off, an ornament which it is almost superfluous to say it had not boasted for many months. Come, sir, said Nicholas, laughing in spite of himself, have the goodness to explain. Wait. What? That's not real. No. Why, I'll tell you how it is, said Mr. Fuller, sitting himself down in a chair with great coolness. Since you came here, Linville has done nothing but second business, and instead of having a reception every night as he used to have, they have let him come on as if he was nobody. What do you mean by a reception? Asked Nicholas. Jupiter, exclaimed Mr. Fuller. What an unsophisticated shepherd you are, Johnson. Why, applause from the house when you first come on. So he has gone on night after night, never getting a hand, and you getting a couple of rounds at least, and sometimes 3, till at length he got quite desperate, and had half a mind last night to play Tybalt with a real sword, and pink you. Not dangerously, just enough to lay you up for a month or 2. Very considerate, remarked Nicholas. Yes, I think it was under the circumstances. His professional reputation being at stake, said Mr. Fuller, quite seriously. But his heart failed him, and he cast about for some other way of annoying you, and making himself popular at the same time. For that's the point. Notoriety. Notoriety is the thing. Bless you, if he had pinked you, said Mr. Fuller, stopping to make a calculation in his mind, it would have been worth 8 or 10 shillings a week to him. All the town would have come to see the actor who nearly killed a man by mistake. I shouldn't wonder if it had got him an engagement in London. However, he was obliged to try some other mode of getting popular, and this one occurred to him. It's a clever idea, really. If you had shown the white feather and let him pull your nose, he'd have got into the paper. If you had sworn the peace against him, it would have been in the paper too, and he'd have been just as much talked about as you. Don't you see? Oh, certainly, rejoined Nicholas. But suppose I were to turn the tables and pull his nose, what then? Would that make his fortune? Why, I don't think it would, replied Mr. Fuller, scratching his head, because there wouldn't be any romance about it, and he wouldn't be favorably known. To tell you the truth, though, he didn't calculate much upon that, for you're always so mild-spoken, and are so popular among the women, that we didn't suspect you of showing fight. If you did, however, he has a way of getting out of it easily, depend upon that. Has he? Rejoined Nicholas. We will try tomorrow morning. In the meantime, you can give whatever account of our interview you like best. Good night. As Mr. Fuller was pretty well known among his fellow actors for a man who delighted in mischief, and was by no means scrupulous, one of a set of unruly persons who infested public places in London in the last half of the 18th century, and emphasize their opinions by pulling their opponent's noses. So that, or a verbal debate in front of an audience, or a painful sport in China or Japan where you put a rubber band on your nose and pull till the other one gives up. I don't even know. Let's see if we actually find out in this chapter. Nicholas had not much doubt but that he had been secretly prompted the tragedian in the course he had taken, and moreover that he would have carried his mission with a very high hand if he had not been disconcerted by the very unexpected demonstrations with which it had been received. It was not worth his while to be serious with him, however, so he dismissed the pantomimist, with a gentle hint that if he offended again, it would be under the penalty of a broken head. And Mr. Folair, taking the caution in exceedingly good part, walked away to confer with his principal, and give such an account of his proceedings as he might think best calculated to carry on the joke. He had no doubt reported that Nicholas was in a state of extreme bodily fear, for when that young gentleman walked with much deliberation down to the theatre next morning at the usual hour, he found all the company assembled in evident expectation, and Mr. Linville, with his severest stage face, sitting majestically on a table, whistling defiance. Now, the ladies were on the side of Nicholas, and the gentlemen, being jealous, were on the side of the disappointed tragedian, so that the latter formed a little group about the redoubtable Mr. Linville, and the former looked on at a little distance in some trepidation and anxiety. On Nicholas stopping to salute them, Mr. Linville laughed a scornful laugh, and made some general remark touching the natural history of puppies. "Oh," said Nicholas, looking quietly round, "are you there?" "Slave," returned Mr. Linville, flourishing his right arm, and approaching Nicholas with a theatrical stride. But somehow he appeared just at that moment a little startled, as if Nicholas did not look quite so frightened as he had expected, and came all at once to an awkward halt, at which the assembled ladies burst into a shrill laugh. "Object of my scorn and hatred," said Mr. Linville, "I hold ye in contempt." Nicholas laughed in very unexpected enjoyment of this performance, and the ladies, by way of encouragement, laughed louder than before, whereat Mr. Linville assumed his bitterest smile, and expressed his opinion that they were minions. "But they shall not protect ye," said the tragedian, taking an upward look at Nicholas, beginning at his boots and ending at the crown of his head, and then a downward one, beginning at the crown of his head and ending at his boots, which two looks, as everybody knows, expressed defiance on the stage. "They shall not protect ye, boy." Thus speaking, Mr. Linville folded his arms and treated Nicholas to that expression of face with which, in melodramatic performances, he was in the habit of regarding the tyrannical kings when they said, "Away with him to the deepest dungeon beneath the castle moat," and which, accompanied with a little jingling of fetters, had been known to produce great effects in its time. Whether it was the absence of the fetters or not, it made no very deep impression on Mr. Linville's adversary, however, but rather seemed to increase the good humor expressed in his countenance, in which stage of the contest one or two gentlemen, who had come out expressly to witness the pulling of Nicholas's nose, grew impatient, murmuring that if it were to be done at all, it had better be done at once, and that if Mr. Linville didn't mean to do it, he had better say so, and not keep them waiting there. Thus urged, the tragedian adjusted the cuff of his right coat sleeve for the performance of the operation, and walked in a very stately manner up to Nicholas, who suffered him to approach to within the requisite distance, and then, without the smallest discomposure, knocked him down. Before the discomfited tragedian could raise his head from the boards, Mrs. Linville, who, as has been before hinted, was in an interesting state, rushed from the rear rank of ladies, and uttering a piercing scream, threw herself upon the body. "Do you see this monster? Do you see this?" cried Mr. Linville, sitting up and pointing to his prostrate lady, who was holding him very tight round the waist. "Come," said Nicholas, nodding his head. "Apologize for the insolent note you wrote to me last night, and waste no more time in talking." "Never!" cried Mr. Linville. Yes, 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 screamed his wife. For my sake, for mine, Linville, forgo all idle forms, unless you would see me a blighted corse at your feet. This is affecting, said Mr. Linville, looking round him and drawing the back of his hand across his eyes. The ties of nature are strong. The weak husband and the father that is yet to be, relents. I apologize. Humbly and submissively, said Nicholas. Humbly and submissively, returned the tragedian, scowling upwards. But only to save her, for a time will come. Very good, said Nicholas. I hope Mrs. Linville may have a good one, and when it does come, and you are a father, you shall retract it if you have the courage. There. Be careful, sir, to what lengths your jealousy carries you another time, and be careful also, before you venture too far, to ascertain your rival's temper. With this parting advice, Nicholas picked up Mr. Linville's ash stick, which had flown out of his hand, and breaking it in half, threw him to pieces and withdrew, bowing slightly to the spectators as he walked out. Damn. Nicholas just metaphorically broke his Schwanstoker in half. Total emasculation. Especially given that Linville called up a whole crowd to witness him beating Nicholas. I'd say that backfired. So I'm assuming that pulling his nose means like a derisive and contemptuous gesture of literally pulling the opponent's nose and daring him to do anything about it. Kind of like 18th century teabagging, if we're going to use the gamer action. The profoundest deference was paid to Nicholas that night, and the people who had been most anxious to have his nose pulled in the morning embraced occasions of taking him aside and telling him, with great feeling, how very friendly they took it that he should have treated that Linville so properly, who was a most unbearable fellow, and on whom they had all, by a remarkable coincidence, at one time or other contemplated the infliction of condign punishment, in which they had only been restrained from administering by considerations of mercy. Indeed, to judge from the invariable termination of all these stories, there never was such a charitable and kind-hearted set of people as the male members of Mr. Crummel's company. Oh. Spineless bunch of sycophants. Nicholas bore his triumph, as he had his success in the little world of the theater, with the utmost moderation and good humor. The crestfallen Mr. Linville made an expiring effort to obtain revenge by sending a boy into the gallery to hiss, but he fell a sacrifice to popular indignation and was promptly turned out without having his money back. Well, Smike, said Nicholas, when the first piece was over, and he had almost finished dressing to go home, is there any letter yet? Yes, replied Smike. I got this one from the post office. From Newman Noggs, said Nicholas, casting his eye upon the cramped direction. It's no easy matter to make his writing out. Let me see. By dint of poring over the letter for half an hour, he contrived to make himself master of the contents, which were certainly not of a nature to set his mind at ease. Newman took upon himself to send back the £10, observing that he had ascertained that neither Mrs. Nickleby nor Kate was in actual want of money at the moment, and that a time might shortly come when Nicholas might want it more. He entreated him not to be alarmed at what he was about to say. There was no bad news. They were in good health, but he thought circumstances might occur, or were occurring, which would render it absolutely necessary that Kate should have her brother's protection. And if so, Newman said, he would write to him to that effect, either by the next post or the next but one. Nicholas read this passage very often, and the more he thought of it, the more he began to fear some treachery on the part of Ralph. Once or twice he felt tempted to repair to London at all hazards without an hour's delay, but a little reflection assured him that if such a step were necessary, Newman would have spoken out and told him so at once. At all events, I should prepare them here for the possibility of my going away suddenly, said Nicholas. I should lose no time in doing that. As the thought occurred to him, he took up his hat and hurried to the green room. Well, Mr. Johnson, said Mrs. Crummles, who was seated there in full regal costume, with the phenomenon as the maiden in her maternal arms. Next week for Ryde, then for Winchester, and then for— I have some reason to fear, interrupted Nicholas, that before you leave here, my career with you will have closed. Closed, cried Mrs. Crummles, raising her hands in astonishment. Closed, cried Miss Snevellicci, trembling so much in her tights that she actually laid her hand upon the shoulder of the manageress for support. Why, he don't mean to say he's going, exclaimed Mrs. Grudden, making her way towards Mrs. Crummles. Hoity-toity nonsense. The phenomenon, being of an affectionate nature and, moreover, excitable, raised a loud cry, and Miss Belvani and Miss Bravassa actually shed tears. Even the male performers stopped in their conversation and echoed the word going, although some among them, and they had been the loudest in their congratulations that day, winked at each other as though they would not be sorry to lose such a favoured rival. An opinion, indeed, which the honest Mr. Folair, who was ready dressed for the savage, openly stated in so many words to a demon with whom he was sharing a pot of porter. Nicholas briefly said that he feared it would be so, although he could not yet speak with any degree of certainty, and getting away as soon as he could, went home to con Newman's letter once more, and speculate upon it afresh. How trifling all that had been occupying his time and thoughts for many weeks seemed to him during that sleepless night, and how constantly and incessantly present to his imagination was the one idea that Kate, in the midst of some great trouble and distress, might even then be looking, and vainly too, for him. All right, we'll take a short break there, and then we'll pick up with Chapter 30. I'm going to drink my tea before it gets too cold. Let's watch Meg's clip, now that I have a minute. General... Meg said booper snoot. It's awesome. I don't know. My takeaway from that is not the frying pan. It's that she talked about booping the snoot. And I forgot to put on the Be Right Back. Oh well. Whatever, we can hang here. Doesn't seem like anybody uses the 8-ball anymore anyway. You gotta boop all the snoots all the time. Snoots are made for booping. It's just what they do. And one of these days, I'm gonna boop your snoodle too. Yeah? Yeah? No? Maybe? I thought it was funny. Oh, man. Made Diamond, for those of you who might not have seen, I posted it in games, but I finally made Diamond. It's some pretty hilarious matches. shenanigans. Had this guy who broke out a whole bunch of creatures and used this card called a Massacre Worm, which debuffs all of mine -2/-2. Your snoot's ready for poopings. And so he attacks with everything. He's like, yeah, rah, I'm going to kill you. And then dies to Raven's Revenge because it does damage for every attacker and gives me life for every attacker. And I love it when that happens and the people are just like, but how did I die? My creatures were going to eat you. It's hilarious. I love it. Yeah, I'm excited that I got Diamond. I'm kind of wondering if I can actually make it like up to Diamond 1 before the season's over. Because they're month-long seasons, right, Gecko? Like it's only to the end of the month? Or is it like a multi-month thing? I suppose it would be good if I actually knew that. Let me load the game up and look real quick. Let's see. Sorry, don't mind me. Just make random noises. It's usually the Inspector Gadget song. Although that would probably be a copyright violation. Alright. Season ends in 7 days. Okay. So I got 1 week to make it out of Diamond. Might happen. Maybe. It's a possibility, right? Probably not going to happen. Being honest, I think I just need to be grateful to make Diamond again. Ow. Stupid popping joints. Alright. Shall we read some chapter 30 and then play some Magic? What do you guys think? Back to it? Alright, back to it. Chapter 30. Festivities are held in honor of Nicholas, who suddenly withdraws himself from the society of Mr. Vincent Crummles and his theatrical companions. Don't tell the Jinx Queen. Oh, you've got a new title, Gecko. Mr. Vincent Crummles was no sooner acquainted with the public announcement which Nicholas had made relative to the probability of his shortly ceasing to be a member of the company than he evinced many tokens of grief and consternation, and, in the extremity of his despair, even held out certain vague promises of a speedy improvement, not only in the amount of his regular salary, but also in the contingent emoluments appertaining to his authorship. Excuse me. Finding Nicholas bent on quitting the society, for he had now determined that, even if no further tidings came from Newman, he would, at all hazards, ease his mind by repairing to London and ascertaining the exact position of his sister. Mr. Crummles was fain to content himself by calculating the chances of his coming back again, and taking prompt and energetic measures to make the most of him before he went away. "Let me see," said Mr. Crummles, taking off his outlaw's wig, the better to arrive at a cool-headed view of the whole case. "Let me see. This is Wednesday night. We'll have posters out the first thing in the morning, announcing positively your last appearance for tomorrow." "But perhaps it may not be my last appearance, you know," said Nicholas. "Unless I am summoned away, I should be sorry to inconvenience you by leaving before the end of the week." "So much the better," returned Mr. Crummles. "We can have positively your last appearance on Thursday, re-engagement for one night more on Friday, and yielding to the wishes of numerous influential patrons who were disappointed in obtaining seats on Saturday. That ought to bring 3 very decent houses. Then I am to make 3 last appearances, am I? Inquired Nicholas, smiling. Well, yes, rejoined the manager, scratching his head with an air of some vexation. 3 is not enough, and it's very bungling and irregular not to have more. But if we can't help it, we can't, so there's no use in talking. A novelty would be very desirable. You couldn't sing a comic song on the pony's back, could you? No, replied Nicholas, I couldn't indeed. It has drawn money before now, said Mr. Crummles, with a look of disappointment. What do you think of a brilliant display of fireworks? That it would be rather expensive, replied Nicholas dryly. 18 pence would do it, said Mr. Crummles. You on the top of a pair of steps, with the phenomenon in an attitude, farewell on a transparency behind, and 9 people at the wings with a squib in each hand, all the 12 going off at once. It would be very grand. Awful from the front, quite awful. As Nicholas appeared by no means impressed with the solemnity of the proposed effect, but, on the contrary, received the proposition in a most irreverent manner, and laughed at it very heartily, Mr. Crummles abandoned the project in its birth, and gloomily observed that they must make up the best bill they could with combats and hornpipes, and so stick to the legitimate drama. For the purpose of carrying this object into instant execution, the manager at once repaired to a small dressing-room adjacent, where Mrs. Crummles was then occupied in exchanging the habiliments of a melodramatic empress for the ordinary attire of matrons in the 19th century. And with the assistance of this lady, and the accomplished Mrs. Grudden, who had quite a genius for making out bills, being a great hand at throwing in the notes of admiration, and knowing from long experience exactly where the largest capitals ought to go, he seriously applied himself to the composition of the poster. "Hi-ho," sighed Nicholas, as he threw himself back in the prompter's chair, after telegraphing the needful directions to Smike, who had been playing a meagre tailor in the interlude, with one skirt to his coat, and a little pocket handkerchief with a large hole in it, and a woolen nightcap, and a red nose, and other distinctive marks peculiar to tailors on the stage. "Hi-ho, I wish all this were over." "Over, Mr. Johnson," repeated a female voice behind him, in a kind of plaintive surprise. "It was an ungallant speech, certainly," said Nicholas, looking up to see who the speaker was, and recognizing Miss Snevellicci. "I would not have made it if I had known you had been within hearing." "What a dear that Mr. Digby is," said Mr. Snevellicci, as the tailor went off on the opposite side, at the end of the piece, with great applause. Smike's theatrical name was Digby. "All right, Gecko. Thanks for hanging out for a bit. I'm glad you came. Have a good night." "Tell Tyler good night, too." "I'll tell him presently, for his gratification, that you said so," returned Nicholas. "Oh, you naughty thing," rejoined Miss Snevellicci. "I don't know, though, that I should much mind his knowing my opinion of him. With some other people, indeed, it might be—" Here Miss Snevellicci stopped, as though waiting to be questioned. But no questioning came, for Nicholas was thinking about more serious matters. "How kind it is of you," resumed Miss Snevellicci, after a short silence, "to sit waiting here for him night after night, no matter how tired you are, and taking so much pains with him, and doing it all with as much delight and readiness as if you were coining gold by it." "He well deserves all the kindness I can show him, and a great deal more," said Nicholas. "He is the most grateful, single-hearted, affectionate creature that ever breathed." "So odd, too," remarked Miss Snevellicci, "isn't he?" "God help him, and those who have made him so, he is indeed," rejoined Nicholas, shaking his head. "He is such a devilish close chap," said Mr. Folair, who had come up a little before, and now joined in the conversation. "Nobody can ever get anything out of him." "What should they get out of him?" asked Nicholas, turning round with some abruptness. "Zooks, what a fire-eater you are, Johnson," returned Mr. Folair, pulling up the heel of his dancing shoe. "I'm only talking of the natural curiosity of the people here, to know what he has been about all his life." Poor fellow, it is pretty plain, I should think, that he has not the intellect to have been about anything of much importance to them or anybody else, said Nicholas. Ay, rejoined the actor, contemplating the effect of his face in a lamp reflector. But that involves the whole question, you know. What question? Asked Nicholas. Why, the who he is and what he is, and how you two, who are so different, came to be such close companions, replied Mr. Folair, delighted with the opportunity of saying something disagreeable. That's in everybody's mouth. The everybody of the theatre, I suppose, said Nicholas, contemptuously. In it and out of it, too, replied the actor. Why, you know, Linville says— I thought I had silenced him effectually, interrupted Nicholas, reddening. Perhaps you have, rejoined the immovable Mr. Folair. If you have, he said this before he was silenced. Linville says that you're a regular stick of an actor, and that it's only the mystery about you that has caused you to go down with the people here, and that Crummles keeps it up for his own sake, though Linville says he doesn't believe there's anything at all in it, except your having got into a scrape and run away from somewhere for doing something or other. Oh, said Nicholas, forcing a smile. That's a part of what he says, added Mr. Folair. I mention it as the friend of both parties, and in strict confidence. I don't agree with him, you know. He says he takes Digby to be more knave than fool, and old Fluggers, who does the heavy business, you know. He says that when he delivered messages at Convent Garden the season before last, there used to be a pickpocket hovering about the coach stand who had exactly the face of Digby, though, as he very properly says, Digby may not be the same, but only his brother or some near relation. Oh, cried Nicholas again. Yes, said Mr. Folair with undisturbed calmness. That's what they say. I thought I'd tell you, because really you ought to know. Oh, here's this blessed phenomenon at last. Ah, you little imposition. I should like to— Quite ready, my darling. Humbug. Ring up Mrs. G and let the favourite wake him. Uttering in a loud voice such of the latter allusions as were complimentary to the unconscious phenomenon, and giving the rest in a confidential aside to Nicholas, Mr. Folair followed the ascent of the curtain with his eyes, regarded with a sneer as the reception of Miss Crummles as the maiden, and falling back a step or two to advance with the better effect, uttered a preliminary howl and went on chattering his teeth and brandishing his tin axe as the savage. So these are some of the stories they invent about us, and bandy from mouth to mouth, thought Nicholas. If a man would commit an inexpiable offense against any society, large or small, let him be successful. They will forgive him any crime but that. You surely don't mind what that malicious creature says, Mr. Johnson, observed Miss Snevellicci in her most winning tones. Not I, replied Nicholas. If I were going to remain here, I might think it worth my while to embroil myself. As it is, let them talk till they are hoarse. But here, added Nicholas, as Smike approached, here comes the subject of a portion of their good nature, so let he and I say good night together. No, I will not let either of you say anything of the kind, returned Miss Snevellicci. You must come home and see Mamma, who only came to Portsmouth today, and is dying to behold you. Led, my dear, persuade Mr. Johnson. Oh, I'm sure, returned Miss Ledbrook, with considerable vivacity. If you can't persuade him, Miss Ledbrook said no more, but intimated, by a dexterous playfulness, that if Miss Snevellicci couldn't persuade him, nobody could. Mr. and Mrs. Lillyvick have taken lodgings in our house, and share our sitting-room for the present, said Miss Snevellicci. Won't that induce you? Surely, returned Nicholas, I can require no possible inducement beyond your invitation. Oh, no, I dare say, rejoined Miss Snevellicci. And Miss Ledbrook said, Upon my word. Upon which Miss Snevellicci said that Miss Ledbrook was a giddy thing, and Miss Ledbrook said that Miss Snevellicci needn't colour up quite so much, and Miss Snevellicci beat Miss Ledbrook, and Miss Ledbrook beat Miss Snevellicci. Come, said Miss Ledbrook, it's high time we were there, or we shall have poor Miss Snevellicci thinking that you have run away with her daughter, Mr. Johnson, and then we should have a pretty to-do. My dear Led, remonstrated Miss Snevellicci, how you do talk. Miss Ledbrook made no answer, but taking Smike's arm in hers, left her friend and Nicholas to follow at their pleasure, which pleased them or rather pleased Nicholas, who had no great fancy for a tete-a-tete under the circumstances to do at once. You know, I get the feeling that these authors were paid by the word, because the one thing I've noticed with a lot of the older works that we're reading with the public domain is that they almost never use one word where, you know, 6 will do. But I'm actually going to close it there and switch to Magic. Hope you guys are okay with that. Let's go ahead and flip it over. Play stream. Magic. Change that stream title. Alright, that's reset. And mature content is on. Alright, there we go. Oh, good. By the way, does anybody want to play me in Magic? I'll be in cozy chair in the Discord. If anybody wants to hang out while we play. Let's see. Opening match real quick. Shah Dynasty. I've decided that I have a rule now. No taking a hand unless it's got 3 lands to start. I keep getting mana screwed every single time I don't do that. Alright, let's keep you to get rid of. All right. Good. Put that out. If we draw a land, we'll play this 4th. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and play it next. Hey, all right. We got a land. Can't tell you the number of times that shield right there has saved my butt. Just getting all the lands. Get our aspirant out. That aspirant plus the next wood, Maskwood Nexus, means I get a discount on all of my casting costs for all of my creatures. Unless, of course, he kills it, which he might. Alright, let's do that. And get our shield out. No attacks. What? What? Why? Oh. Maybe they just were that mana screwed? Alright, game number 2. Let's go. Who knows? Maybe it'll be so scary that everybody will just quit and I'll get all the way up to Mythic on a bunch of concessions. I mean, it could happen, right? That could be a thing. No? Maybe? Yes? Hey, look at that. I get to keep all 7 cards this time. Put you out there. I splurged and bought all the pretty sleeves for the gods that I had. Get Daxos out there. Huh. Got 3 good artifacts. Got my Lantern, the Nexus, and the Lithoform. Question is what order to play them. I think probably Lantern first. Start causing some damage to my opponent. Ooh, what is that? I've never seen that before. Huh. That's new. Okay. Let's take a swamp. And we'll get Masquid out. That's potentially nasty. It's a hell of a blocker, though. 17 toughness. Oof. Hey, that wasn't nice. All right. 6 mana. Let's get the Lantern back out. And the Orator. And then we will Lantern you. 1, 2 mana. Okay. Oops, forgot. He just entered the battlefield. Oh well. Totally pointless. Oops. Okay. I don't like that. Well, that sucked. Gem Razor's no good at all. Okay. So he's got 4 islands, and he's got the mana for it. So we'll hold off for the moment. Ugh. Oh, but he lost the Gem Razor. Okay, I'll take that. And then he brings the Gem Razor back. I should have just kept my damn mouth shut. Five, 6, 7. Alright, so I can do Lit Form and get a Shapeshifter out. Go ahead, dude. Lit Form and a Shapeshifter. And we'll bop him on the nose. Bop. That wasn't nice. Big old meanie head. Oh well. Hey, time for more tea. All right, so we've got 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Not quite enough. Too bad. Ooh, the Betrayer King. Okay. So we'll put that card out. See what we draw. Another land. Okay. And we'll put that out and duplicate it. Get a couple more life out of it. Ooh, got a veto. Veto is cool. So next turn we'll throw out Veto. Okay, next turn we won't do anything because he's going to quit. Victory is mine again. Ooh, what card did we get? Containment Priest. Takes out a couple of special abilities. Anybody still here? Fella, Sparky, Panda, Meg? Anybody? Everybody's gotten really quiet. Just babbling along to myself here. Everybody's lurking. Alright. Yep, all by myself. I can't even sing that. Maybe I can sing like a phrase of it. All by myself. How about that? Can I get away with that? Did that get muted? You know, I'm in cozy chair. You could pop in and say hi, Bella. Oh. Get rid of you. Shit. I guess we'll get rid of you. Hate having to mulligan so many times. But I hate being screwed with no mana even more. This game the other day, I unleashed this thing with 7 angels. Dude quit. He's like, nope, game over. I'm done. It's actually a really powerful card. Especially when you have multiples of it. It's a bad sign. I like my lantern. Suck. Alright, well. I think I might need to cast this next turn. Give me 4 life and 2 4/4 creatures. Ow! I boop your nose, butthead. Ouch. Okay, well, I'd say that's what we need to do. Because that really hurt. That's why multiple of those angels are so dangerous. Start adding up real quick. Clearly an angel deck. Alright. Let's get 2 angels out. Can't be having all that shit. Don't banish him. Jerk. Not nice at all. I may be in trouble here. Just a little bit. Oh my god, it's a Vela. I'm not all by myself anymore. No, don't banish Vito. Vito, my one true love. I'm a little screwed this game, Vela. I'm in trouble. A board clear came around just in time, too. Did you see those big scary angels he had? Oof. Terrifying. Save this in case there's something scarier that pops up. Don't want to just blow it on Daxus if I don't need to. Yep, like that guy. That guy's gotta die. Bye-bye. Can't be having that shit. Okay. What can we come up with? How about the king? King's a good card. Play him, gain some life. All is right with the world. And we'll start recovering some of my creatures. Bring back that Angel of Vitality. Increase my life gain with that. Ooh, I can have Vito back. What? Dude, you... Okay. Here I am. I play. I get all the way down to like 1 life, 2 life, 3 life. Do comebacks. These guys are at 35 life and they quit? Disappointment. I am advancing, but it feels cheap somehow. I mean, I'll take it, don't get me wrong, but it feels a little cheap. I was totally going to win, but, you know, play it out. Watch me kick your ass. Of course, I say all that, now I'm going to get stomped. Space Boy. Oh my god, I started with 3 lands and a mana giving artifact. And cool angel cards? Man. What is this? This is so strange. I'm not used to getting hands like this. Play the plains and then the ring. And then the next turn, the aspirant and then the Valkyrie. Because the aspirant will discount the cost of that Valkyrie. What are you? Oh, extra elves. That's kind of neat. Uh-oh. We get the Death Touch deck. That's going to be fun. Alright, so we'll put you out. Then we'll put you out. Hey. Butthead. Well, fine. Put the Masquerade out so I get the discount on all my other creatures. And put the Order out. No attacks. If we get a mana out, the next turn I can play Valkyries and Veto. Which should be fun. Aw, why are you gonna do me like that? Not nice. Fine then. All the Death Touch creatures. Ooh. That's a cute little synergy. Sure. Just sacrifice a 1/1, you know you're going to. That'll do. See if he kills it or not. Okay. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now what you gonna do? Too bad. Now you're gonna have to sacrifice 3 creatures. Oops. I don't think he was expecting that. One more. Well then. You gonna block any of them? Or suck all the damage? If he sucks all the damage, he loses. I think. No, 1, 2, 6, 8, 16. No, he won't lose. He'll come close though. And there he goes. Quits again. Tier 3. Woot. Ooh, I get a pack. Let's see what's in our pack. Should probably buy another pack while I'm at it. So we can open 2 packs. Alright, let's open 2 packs, see what we get. First pack has the wild card, 3 more wild cards. Giant wizard. Yeah, let's see this one. Valkyrie sword. Ooh, another one of these. Might have to stick that in my deck. Love that card. It's been a game changer for me a couple of times. Bloop. Alright. Hopefully I didn't completely screw myself by doing that. Three mana out the gate. I'll take it. Kind of funny that I got multiple swamps though. planes. I've actually started to find like some people multiple times, like recognizing names and stuff. Oh, I don't want to discard a card. Fine. Booty head. Making me discard. You're awful quiet, Vela. What little dude think of the story? Oh, I don't like pouncing shore shark. You're clipping in and out. I can't hear everything you're saying. Okay. Why doesn't Alex know how to cook? Stupid Kraken. What? That's ridiculous. Why is he spending that much on takeout? This seems excessive still. I mean, that's still got to be more than one meal, right? Hmm. Seems like poor choices. On his part. Alex. It seems like Alex is making poor choices. Alex having made poor choices up to this point. Okay. I'm not saying anything bad about you. And you could just record and upload to YouTube or Skype or Discord or, lots of options. Well, that game went south quickly. Rip. I didn't need to be tier 3 anyway. The Sisyphus pattern looks kind of cool, though. All right. Try that again. Maybe putting that extra Starnheim Unleashed was a bad idea. Jinxed myself with it. What to get rid of? I might regret this, but I'll get rid of him. Alright. Get 3 lands out, get the Replicating Ring out, get Revenge of Ravens out, and then Maskwood. Drawing all the lands this time. Every last fucking land. Stupid mutation decks. It's cool looking planes though. Alright, so next turn I'll be able to do Midnight and get a Shapeshifter out. Cast Midnight. Get a Shapeshifter. Foretell that. That doesn't seem good. Yep, that wasn't good. At all. That guy totally needs to die. Good thing I adjust the card to do it. Ooh. Yeah, we'll keep that order. So then I can duplicate that angel. Put you out there. One of the matches I won, it was nothing but the 2/2 shapeshifters and 1/1 humans. And that's what I won with. Crap, he brought back Snapdax. That's not good. Not good at all. That didn't sound good. Nah, not particularly good. Probably going to kill one of my Valkyries. Yep. Yeah, he's about to kill the other Valkyrie too, I bet. Yep. There it went. He's a big meanie head. Duplicating the replicating ring should mean I get my, yep, extra 8 mana. And let's do one more. Alright, I've got 7 mana for casting. Okay, let's get my Harbinger out. you out. Hmm. Eight, 9, 10, 11, 12 left. So definitely get you out. And get you out. Get you out, and that'll get us another angel from the Harbinger. And boop you. And we'll boop you again. Sweet. This game just got a whole lot closer. That sucks. I really shouldn't have said anything. Oof. Oof. Ah, that was painful. Oh, it's more he did it to me. Super ouch. Really? That activates twice with double strike? Okay. Whale. Screw your creature. Because, yeah. Screw that thing. And let's get a Legion Angel out. Hey, we'll grab another Legion Angel. More Full Tell. all the pixies. Hmm. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I could get 4 more angels from that. Huh. I'm a little worried about how much mana he just popped out. Let's put that out. Let's put you out. Legion Angel out. Hmm. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. Ah, shit. I could have gotten one more. Oh well. Hmm. He's almost certainly going to pay that and get a giant. Aw, he didn't like my world tree? That's a shame. Hmm. All right, dude. Get to blocking. What does Shell Shield do? Huh. Okay. Not bad. All right, tell little dude I said goodnight. It's a pretty decent game, actually. A lot of back and forth. Let's see how this plays out. Anytime now. It's not really a lot left to do, dude. What is with all the timeouts? Come on! Is he really gonna like quit on me here? Man. All the freaking timeouts. Anytime, Mr. Oak. Anytime. As Gecko would say, what the heckins? I don't know. That was disappointing. I think I'm gonna call it there. Let's go watch Alex. Thanks for joining me, everybody. I'm gonna call it there. That was too sad. Been too much of that nonsense today. And away we go. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. I appreciate it. I'll catch you later.